Cassandra Cain has not had her own solo series as Batgirl since her original one that went from 2000 to 2006. That is nearly 2 decades. Her only notable appearances as Batgirl since then were obviously in Batgirl 2008, which was only 6 issues and was really just to fix her character after Robin Wanted, and then her appearance in the Batgirls series. But that was a team-up comic and wasn't focused on her. So we've really got no Cassandra Cain-focused content for 2 decades. But then in 2024, we get this, which is a new run, which is just focused around her as Batgirl. But I have hardly seen anyone talking about it, which really confuses me because it's an ongoing series. Issue 22 releases next month. The third trade also releases next month. So that really confused me. So I thought, why not do a little overview and review of the 2 trades that are already out, given the third trade is coming out next month. And hopefully this will help guide your decision about whether to get these in the third trade that's coming up as well, and whether maybe you'd like to follow the series through individual issues, as I've done. I bought issue 21. So yeah, we're going to get started here. If you like this type of video, like, comment, and subscribe to let me know and see more authentic comic book content. And then the video will be timestamped for your convenience if there's just a particular section you want to skip or skip to or what have you. The premise of Mother is that Lady Shiva, Cassandra's mother, is in Gotham, and Cassandra comes to confront her, and Shiva tells them they're both being hunted by a group of warriors known as the Unburied. They are attacked by the Unburied and have to work together to get out of that. And when they escape, Shiva wants to take Cassandra out of town, but Cassandra doesn't trust her mother. So they end up heading to a little area that Cassandra knows about, a small kitchen. However, then after they have a short conversation, they are attacked by the Unburied again, which puts people Cassandra cares about in danger. Cassandra is injured in the fight and rescued by her mother. And this leads to Cassandra finally heading along onto the train with her mother, where she meets many members of the Order of Shiva on the train, which sort of gives her a new perspective of her mother as she goes throughout this train. There are other allies there as well, which Cassandra attacks at first, thinking them to be enemies. However, after that's sorted out, there is an attack by the Unburied on the train. And this leads to, after a fight, a little conversation between Cassandra and Shiva, where Shiva actually admits things Cassandra never thought she would hear from her mother, but that is interrupted by an attack by more members of the Unburied, which leads to Shiva being captured. After Shiva is captured, Cassandra goes to save her, along with a member of the Order of Shiva she has made a little bit of a friendship with, named Jayesh, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And you can really show how this whole saga has been changing Cassandra's perspective on Shiva, as she says, she has this line, "What would Batman do? Wrong question, not Batman. What would my mother do?" So they go to try and free Shiva, and as they fight through the little base of the Unburied, she has like memories of Shiva in her head as she does this, which is really good to read. And then eventually, actually, when she's losing, she ends up getting knocked out, and she has a little dream of Stephanie here, who she has a conversation with about why her feelings for her mother are so complicated. And then, so we're gonna I'm about to move into the big spoiler section, so there will be timestamps if you want to skip that spoiler section. What you just need to know before we go into the spoilers is that through the spoiler section, Cassandra's sort of opinion and feelings towards her mother are going to go back and forth a lot. So just keep that in mind. The spoiler section to go back and forth a lot, but I can't share a lot of details of that because that would be spoilers, obviously. So here's your chance to skip if that's what you want. Spoiler section. Here it is. All right, so spoilers. So Cassandra gets captured, and it turns out that Shiva, the reason they're after Shiva and Cassandra is Shiva attacked them and stole from them, essentially. So obviously Cassandra's mad about that. But with Jayesh's help, they do end up escaping. However, Jayesh is killed, and they eventually escape the cave after some more emotional conversations and fights and things. And when they escape, Shiva decides she's done with running. So she goes ahead and she tells Cassandra to find the bronze tiger named Benjamin Turner, and ask about the jade tiger. And then as Cassandra escapes, Shiva fights and is ultimately killed. So after the events of Mother, Cassandra is on a train searching for the bronze tiger, as her mother told her, and she listens to an audio recording which tells her about Shiva's history and how she sort of got to where she is, from her and her sister growing up in the mountains to finding a home, to that home eventually being destroyed, and then coming to the United States and training, where they eventually meet some friends here and even start a little bit of a hero team. And then it even also introduces Sandra meeting David Cain, Cassandra's father, for the first time. So it has all that, and it does a really good job, I think, of sort of helping us to empathize with Shiva and understand why she made the decisions she did, while still making it clear she had a choice. She just didn't have to go down this path. It makes it really clear that it was her choice, but also we can understand her choices without necessarily absolving her of everything she did or justifying her or anything. So then Cassandra comes to a little farm where she finds the bronze tiger, Benjamin Turner. And here they have a little conversation. Benjamin tries to push her away. She doesn't let him. They have a little fight before the jade tiger intervenes, and they have a little fight before it's revealed eventually that he is actually Cassandra's brother, named Tenji. So they have a little fight before they get attacked by some guys. And while they're attacked by these assassins, he explains a lot, sort of his backstory, and it really helps us to feel for him very quickly, even though we haven't known this character very long. It's very effective at making us empathize with him while all this action is also going on. So the assassin attacks, and then eventually another assassin attacks, and they have to work together to defeat them. And then the third assassin comes, who ends up not actually being a threat at all, but actually Jayesh's daughter, Jaya, who tells them about a sanctuary, basically a hideout for those working to fight the unburied. So with that, Tenji, Jaya, and Cassandra set out to find the sanctuary. All right, so that was a very condensed summary of the stories. I tried to leave plenty for you to find on your own when you read. It was very condensed. It was very sort of skipping over a lot of things because I want you to be able to discover a lot of that when you read yourself. So this is time for my review and my thoughts. To start with the artwork, I really liked the artwork, particularly the faces. I thought the faces and expressions were done extremely well in the character designs. That is surprisingly hard to do in comic books at times, but I thought it was really well done here, almost perfectly. Some of the fight scenes can be a little hard to track at times, but it's not too bad. You can still usually track them. But overall, art is great. So now the story itself. I really loved the story. I'd say the first thing is I think it did really well was all the complicated stuff, especially Cassandra's complicated feelings for Shiva. It didn't try to simplify them either direction. It allowed that tension to be there. It would have been so much simpler for them to just sort of pick a side. Is Shiva bad? Is Shiva good? Should Cassandra like her, not like her? Whatever. It didn't do that. It let the tension be there. It let them be complicated. And I think that enhanced the story so much. And it makes a lot of sense given the history of these characters and what happens in these books. I'd say another thing is I really liked how the side characters were done. You don't get I think it's very easy to use side characters as filler in these types of stories. They weren't. Even though we only get a little time with them, the time we get with them is very well written to make us care about them, which makes us feel all the more real when bad things happen to them. I'd say the next thing is actually this the depiction of Shiva herself. I think it makes perfect sense for the character, and it really almost shows development in Shiva's character while also keeping continuity. Two of my favorite sections were the section at the beginning of Mother, which actually has slower parts, interestingly, and I think it sets a really good foundation for helping us understand where Cassandra and Shiva are, which the rest of this builds off of. And then the section in Bloodlines, which goes over Shiva's history, I thought was incredibly well written because it helps us to understand her without justifying her. We understand her choices, but it also makes it very clear she made those choices and she could have made different choices. And I thought that was incredibly well written. And also, I think this story did a really good job of showing Lady Shiva didn't come from nowhere. Shiva was already present in Sandra. Just her choices and what happened to her and everything sort of made those attributes of her overshadow everything else. I thought that was extremely well written. And then I think the Unburied are actually very good antagonists. I didn't focus on them in my overview, but the Unburied, I think, they did a really good job making us sympathize for them while also hating them. We hate them because they've hurt the characters we love, and they're doing these things that we hate, but also we can kind of understand them. I think it's that same thing with Shiva, helping us understand without justifying. So we have that same tension with our feelings towards the Unburied, where we hate them, but also understand them at the same time. I think that's sort of the theme of both of these books, is sort of that tension between understanding while also hating. And then I also really like there's an interesting split in these books. I think book one focused a lot on Cassandra, her personal identity. It was very Cassandra focused and her relationship to her mother and all that. Well, Bloodlines was very focused on Shiva, her development, her history, and her legacy, and how everything she has done affects those around her. So I thought that was also extremely well written. I'd say there's that structure sort of helps us first to see things from Cassandra, and then really, without even having to write Cassandra's reactions, understand Cassandra viewing Shiva in this book. I don't think I'm checking my notes here to see if I have anything else. Oh, I also really love the segment in Mother where Cassandra has a dream of Stephanie. I think that really helps us sort of understand where Cassandra's headspace is regarding her mother. And I just think it is very well written, and it's a very nice sort of moment. Also, it's just nice to see Stephanie, even if only in dream form. I feel like that is most of my main reviews, sort of. So I would highly recommend these books. I think they're incredibly well written. I'm absolutely getting the third trade. I've gotten issue 21. I'm going to get issue 22. I'm going to be following the series and catching up. Highly recommend. More people should be talking about this. I do not know why they're not. So yeah, what are your thoughts? You can put them in the comments. I'll try to read them and respond if I can. If you like this video and want to see more, there are a few things you can do. You can like, which will tell me what types of videos you all want so I can make more of these. It'll also mean YouTube is more likely to recommend more of them to you. And then you can also subscribe if you're not already to see more content from me, and also tell YouTube you want to see more. So yeah, it helps me and YouTube know what you want to see. So that's it. Have a blessed day wherever you are, and I hope you really like these comics as much as I have.